Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today, I have a local comedian, Dan Rathmann. How you doing, Dan?
Doing good.
I wanted to kind of bring you on the podcast. We've been talking a lot lately about following your dreams and chasing the happiness, pursuit of happiness kind of stuff. And when your name got brought up to me, my buddy's telling me, he's like, hey, I know this guy. He's a local comedian here in town. He used to be a police officer and stuff like that. And immediately my ears perked up because I'm into, crime stories, and who doesn't love a good cop story?
Right.
So I wanted to bring you on and kind of talk about a little bit about what brought you into wanting to be a comedian, first of all, and then wherever the conversation goes from there, we'll get there. I mean, we could talk about whatever. No subject is off limits. If you want to poke fun, we can poke fun. I know you're a comedian, so
yeah.
Anyway, so what made you want to be a comedian?
I don't know. I just wanted to be an entertainer. Actually, I got into plays and theater and stuff into high school.
Right.
And my theater teacher was like a big influence. She was my major go-getter. She always said, you can do this, you can do this. I would crack jokes in our theater arts class all the time. I would make jokes out of stuff whenever people would, high school's rough for a lot of people. I wasn't a big guy. I was kind of like a late bloomer per se.
Right.
But I remember one time I was accused of being a drug dealer, and I was funny thing is that my uncle was a cop, and his buddies that worked with him were cops, and actually at one point in time I was living with them when I was being accused of being a drug dealer. So it was kind of weird that I had 3 cops in the house, but I was a drug dealer. So,
yeah. It's kind of weird how they want to pick the guy that's not the cop, and then look, you live with a bunch of cops, so you got to be up to something.
Oh yeah. I figured I just got the good stuff from them, evidence loggers and stuff. But, But now one time we did these practice sessions, right, where we just like warmed up, like you're just talking before how now brown cow stuff.
Right.
Well, we would do this stuff where it was like physical warm-ups, and basically what you would do, you go around the circle and you would hand off whatever you made to somebody else. They'd make it into something else and do that.
Ashley, you've had to do something similar to that. When you do your team building exercises at work, you build like little Legos and then they pass it off to the next person.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with that type of game. It's like an improv character building stuff.
That's exactly what it is.
So.
Yeah. And I love doing that stuff. But me being who I am and my personality is always turn something into a negative into a positive.
Yeah, and, I actually, since we've known each other for a couple weeks now, I've really noticed that about you. You don't really have a whole lot of negative things to say, and you're all about positivity and bringing people up instead of kicking them down,
Yeah, and I try to do that with them. But what got me going, like you're asking about the comedy side of stuff, is that I wanted to be an actor, but a comedic actor was kind of just my forte, and it just kind of fit naturally.
Right.
But what I used to do in those things, the first time we ever did it, one of the people that was in the class, it was actually a relative of hers or whatever, had said I was the drug dealer or whatever, and I was like, okay, here's a chance to make this funny, and someone made an umbrella, handed it off to somebody else, and then somebody made a ball bat, handed it off to me. I grinded it down, rolled it up, and passed it to the girl. And everybody started cracking up, laughing and stuff, because they knew the story behind it all. And I just kind of left it at that, So then I took that from 16, 17 years old in life, and I've taken that on into, I'm 37 now. So I just kind of kept on doing that with certain things. I've got other things where I've turned, like the sleep cocking story.
Yeah. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, I can. I started off.
So first of all, the name of your production company is Sleep Cocking Productions.
Yes, yeah.
And there is a pretty funny story behind it. And sleep cocking.
Yeah.
You want to get into that and tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, that's fine. We were out drinking one night, just hanging out, friends and stuff, and a girl had walked in, and then she had came up to me. I didn't recognize her or whatever, she looked familiar, but you're out at a bar. Most people look familiar to you anyways. You might have seen them somewhere, Walmart. You could have seen them at Target anywhere.
Right. We live in a small area in the Midwest. So like you run into people that you may not know, but I've seen that person somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Well, she had told me a story after a while of, you know, a few glances back and forth. She came up and told me the story about supposedly a one-night stand situation, you know, and said I fell asleep on her and all this other stuff. And then I'm like, whatever. I didn't really believe it all or any of that because, you know, people just talk. And, well, she had told other people that it happened more recently than what she had told me. And basically was trying to make it out like I was, like, you know, cheating and stuff like that.
Oh.
And so, again, you know, me wanting to turn a negative into a positive. Buddy was sitting there. We were sitting at the bar and talking, and they said, "What happened?" I don't know. I must have been sleepwalking, and it just kind of stuck.
I'm gonna start using that like for things that I don't remember. I must have been sleepwalking.
Yeah,
you know, that's pretty. You turned that whole situation into such a positive that you made a production company and named it Sleepcocking.
Yeah,
and I think
Sleepcocking.
Sleepcocking without the G on the end.
Yeah, it's like sleepwalking, but a funner story.
Absolutely. So back to, you went to high school. Did you go to a small rural school or did you go to a big school?
I'm originally from Troy, Kansas.
Okay.
So I graduated from Troy with a class of like 36 or something like that.
I went to school not too far from there, what's now called Riverside. I went to Wathena for a little bit, and I didn't have a very successful school career there. I came back across the river and quit. But so you went to high school in a small rural setting, whereas I went to the big inner city school. I went to Central here in St. Joe, whereas my graduating class would have been over 300.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people, like my wife here, she went to a small rural school, and things were a lot different for her, in which everybody knows her, which I was easily able to fade into the crowd. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew, like, even my friends, my closest friends, I only had like 5 of them. Nice. So it's not like I knew a whole lot of people to get that kind of reputation as like a drug dealer, but somehow I still got the reputation.
You probably knew some though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't shy away from that. You know, a big part of the podcast is talking about parenting and stuff like that. Now, I'm extremely honest. I use drugs and I'm honest with my kids about that. And the reason why I started being honest with my kids about that is so I didn't get busted, you know, because we all go to school and they have those, you know, in the club the other night, they were talking about DARE and how everybody had to do DARE. Well, I didn't have to do that, and it wasn't part of my curriculum, but there was all kinds of different drug programs that I could join and stuff, but I didn't get into all that, but I knew that those programs existed. So I didn't want my kids going to school and being like, "Oh, I know what that is. My dad has that all over the house." You know, so I was honest with the kids.
Knock on the door and it's like, "Oh, drug strike force."
Absolutely. And it started with my oldest son. He was getting to the age where I smell something funny, you know, and he'd come out to where I was and I'd be like, "Hey, you can't be out here." And instead of being like, you know, do as I say, not as I do type of thing, I explained why.
Yeah.
And he was old enough at that time where I can be like, "Look, you know, I'm using drugs. That's what I'm doing." And I told him what kind of drug I was using. I was smoking pot. Yeah. And I told him, "Hey, this isn't legal. It's not okay, but in my opinion, it's no different than really drinking or anything like that." And I'd explain it to him like, "Hey, if you go to school and you tell these people that I'm doing these things at home, it's not hurting anyone, but I'm going to go to jail." Yeah. And so then once it became legal, now, you know, we've got the issue of my 20-year-old kid smokes weed now. So it's not that great, but it is what it is. I'd be a hypocrite if I told him to stop. "Hey, don't do that." Yeah. We can have those hypocritical moments, as far as I'm concerned, with kids when they're younger. And that's what big reason why I'm honest about it is because, you know, we had the discussion, if we're honest, we can't use those things as weapons. Oh, yeah. And I don't want anybody coming to me like, "Well, you do this, you know, and so that makes you a bad parent." Well, no, I don't do these things and makes me a bad parent. I do these things and I'm a parent. Yeah. You know, we're all just people. Yeah. So I'm not above, you know, anybody. Nobody's better than me. I'm not better than anybody else. We may handle things differently.
Exactly.
But
Different
I'm not
parenting styles, yeah.
right. I'm not putting anybody in danger, and it's not like I'm sitting in a room full of kids getting everybody high or anything like that. I partake, and it's not anything that causes a problem in my life, so I don't really see it as a big deal. But I'm honest about it.
Well, yeah, you can't. I don't know. I'm a firm believer. Like this, we've got this whole timeout stuff. You know that everybody thinks is gonna work. And to me, a timeout, I feel like it just prepares them for prison.
That's it's
all
pretty
it
much. You're exactly right. And grounding and all that stuff. You're not really. So for us, we use kind of grounding and we don't use corporal punishment pretty much at all. But we use grounding and stuff like that as a last line of defense. We try to reason with them first, because ultimately our job is to teach them, not to bend them and shape them how we want them to be, but make them productive citizens and happy.
But you got to teach them consequences for their, if they do bad actions, they got to have consequences. And
Absolutely.
Because that's how the real world's going to react to them. That's the way I look at it. I grew up with, spankings and stuff like that. It took maybe 4 times of getting a spanking to realize, hey, don't do that.
Right. Absolutely.
But I think, honestly, the only out of 4 or 5 times I was spanked in my life, it might have been my grandfather.
Yeah.
So,
I'd say I got the hell beat out of me when I was a kid. But and if you ask me, even now, I wasn't abused or anything like that. My parents used a heavy hand on me, but I needed it, you know. And if you ask me 10 years ago, I probably could have used a whole lot more than I got.
Yeah.
And like we do some physical punishments like spankings and stuff, but it's not with our 4-year-old. He's autistic, so it's not like he understands what he's getting hit for.
Yeah.
And with our 14-year-old, he's bigger than I am. Oh. So it's one of those things like, am I doing any good here? Like, I think there's better and easier ways to handle it now.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that's where communication is. You're talking about being honest, if you talk to your kids and they feel like they can come to you and be honest, it makes things a lot easier on the communication side.
Oh yeah. And I had a big problem. I still have a big problem with sometimes children lying and stuff to make themselves look better. And I was telling them, if you're honest, there's a chance where I might even just glance over a lot of stuff because you were honest. But if you're dishonest and I find out in a way that's not happy, you're going to know there's going to be bigger consequences because I had to find out that way.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, just because a difficult conversation, just because it's a difficult conversation doesn't mean it doesn't need to be had.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if you are afraid of the consequences of coming to me, the consequences of me finding out afterwards is going to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Especially if you cost me money.
Yeah.
So,
no, I get that.
But so you grew up in a rural high school, and you had a lot of benefits to having a small social circle. And one of those drawbacks was you got accused of being a drug dealer, and you had some police officers in the house. And you turned those positives into negatives, or negatives and positives. You turned those negatives into positives.
Yeah.
And you've always been interested in comedy and making people laugh and making light of difficult situations. Entertainment in general. So when you're a former police officer, when did you get into that? At what age?
I went through the police academy back in 2017.
Okay.
I always had interest in that too. So the way I look at it, I think everybody has several dreams that they had in their life. Things that they wanted to do. My top 3 were law enforcement, acting, entertainment. Or at one point in time, I wanted to be a professional football player.
Right.
I was athletic. I could run, I could throw, I could do all that. But
actually, you're still athletic for, you look great for your age, by the way.
Thank you. I try to stay in shape, but it's really thing was I wasn't tall enough to be a quarterback, 5'8" and I couldn't see over the line when they stood up.
Tall enough to be a running back though.
Yeah. And that's the thing about being in a small community. You could play several different roles, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think I was good enough to throw myself the ball maybe at one point in time, but but not anymore. But they kind of I dropped that one dream. But I've always been into that nature of law enforcement as far as the protector type. And
you got law enforcement in the family.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
law
it's only
enforcement.
natural. A lot of people that have military service members in their family often follow that direction as well.
which is funny because I always get mistaken for law enforcement or military.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my build, my look, or whatever, but I always keep my hair cut, clean cut and shaved. And
You kind of got that cop walk to you.
that's actually, I think, a birth defect. I don't know exactly how it worked. I just some type of fusion or something with my spine or something. It's weird, but
Yeah. So you actually have a real birth defect then?
yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it's like a partial fusion or whatever, where the vertebrae is sitting partially fused to the pelvis.
Yeah.
So I kind of have that natural strut.
Well, I'm going to kind of out our mutual friend here. I didn't know if you knew, but he's got Tourette's syndrome.
Oh, nice.
And so I was always making fun of him, and I was like, what? Did you just do a bunch of drugs when you were younger or something? You're always fucking twitchy.
That's
And
funny.
he's like, no, man, I got Tourette's. And I was like, nah, you're full of shit. And he's like, no, dude, I used to get the shit beat out of me because I couldn't sit still when I was younger. And no, yeah, I've totally got Tourette's. And so if you see him kind of bopping his head back and forth, that's one of his tics, or,
Yeah.
beating his leg on the floor. It's kind of funny now. We make fun of him all the fucking time about it. He's got a great sense of humor about it. And it's
He's got a good sense of humor for real all
so
the way around. So
you've got a cop walk due to a birth defect.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy.
that strut has been there since I've been able to walk. I think I don't know. I think I might have been in pull-ups and diapers, maybe doing it, but
Well, you embrace it well.
it's just part of me now. So,
Yeah.
but no, on the cop stuff though, like I said, I just always was. I felt like, and I've been told multiple times with people, like when they're around me and stuff, they felt safer and things like that nature. But
Oh yeah.
it's just, I don't know. It's just the way I am. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know what it is, but I embraced it and went that route. I loved being in law enforcement. I hated the politics.
Yeah.
Politics are
You
dirty.
ran for sheriff back in 2021, right?
Yeah.
So I don't remember that, but I did a little bit of research before I had you come in today, and I found you a bunch of stuff on Facebook from where you were running from sheriff.
Yeah, I was running from sheriff. No.
Yeah. You were a deputy at the time, right?
No. So, see, they did me pretty dirty, actually. I'll tell you this story on this, and I want it to be public because it was a bullshit move on their part. They can say whatever they want. They can talk about it, but until someone gives me a formal disciplinary action or anything
Right.
like that, these guys waited till I took a day off to take my family to the zoo down in Kansas City. I get a knock on the door. This is June 3rd, 2018. 1:30 in the morning, I get a knock on my door. They didn't even tell dispatch where they were going or anything. Show up to my doorstep, tell me my services were no longer needed, and I did a no-call, no-show.
Really?
Mind you, I filled in constantly for people.
And they waited till 1:30 in the morning to do this?
Came, picked up my vehicle, wanted all the equipment back, all this other stuff, and I'm like, for missing a day that I told you guys 3 weeks in advance to the guy that was scheduling
Right.
in scheduling that you put in charge, but now he's not in charge because you don't want him in charge. Just a lot of backdoor stuff.
Right. And knowing that county the way I do, I absolutely
Yeah.
100% can see all of that happening.
Now to go forward into the sheriff running stuff, right? Okay. I ran for sheriff. At that time, my address, because I had moved back over and stayed with my parents, my address was the same as my mother's.
Right.
Okay. Well, when voting time came, they only showed one vote from that residence.
Really?
And my mom voted for me, and obviously I voted for myself. So
They didn't count the votes correctly then.
where'd the votes go?
They were one vote per household
Yeah.
now? Or
Yeah.
is it one vote per voter?
Yeah. So, and then it come down to it, I had more signs out than it showed I had votes.
And that wasn't even that long ago. That's the craziest.
Yeah.
But 2021, when you think of 2021, Rocket was just a little baby, but he was still here. And now he's almost like 3.5, 4 feet tall now. So, I mean, you think about 2021, that wasn't even that long ago. And in the current state of big politics on the national level, we're dealing with a lot of corrupt bullshit. Yeah. So I absolutely 100% believe
corruption's from the local all the way up. I mean, it's just ridiculous how that stuff works. And I was thinking I was going to run again this year. I was really going to do it, but it cost me about $1,000 to $1,500 to do everything. With your registration fees to run for sheriff, all the signs I bought. My signs got stolen out of people's yards,
and all that is just petty small town politics.
Yeah. My signs got stolen out of yards and replaced with other with the current sheriff's.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
I'm pretty sure it is too. But like I said, I don't really care. They know I don't care about them. They know that I will say what I want to say when I say it.
Absolutely. And you hold all the power to that now. So, once you were talking about at your last show, of course, our audience doesn't know, but you were talking about censorship and self-censoring. And we have to do quite a bit on this show, actually, is self-censoring, because Ashley has a professional job and we don't want to interfere with that job. We don't want to interfere with her ability to move forward, and I just rather not have her on the show if that's going to happen. Yeah. So if anybody out there is listening to this, I'll kick her off the damn show. I don't care. No. But we do.
But my words and your words should not get her in trouble. That's
Absolutely.
the way I look at it. So.
Absolutely. And we want to put up like a disclaimer eventually. But I think we've only got on YouTube, we've got 900 views. So it's not like it's coming along, but we've only been doing it for like 2 months.
I'm trying to get my views up, but I think my name is kind of throwing people off. They probably think it's some type of porn site or something. But
yeah, well, I think it may be the two ends. It may be the two ends on.
I'm talking about it's up as sleepcocking.
Okay,
so,
okay.
I'm just wondering if people are like looking at like, oh, that's dirty. So
I don't know. I think that might get you more clicks if they thought.
I don't know,
because porn's a big business, multi-billion dollars.
Sleep cocking one for that OnlyFans, right?
Sleep cocking one. Is that really a shout out to your OnlyFans?
No.
I was going to say,
I don't have an OnlyFans.
If we're shouting out OnlyFans, we'll give out some links on there too.
I don't have one.
But we'll link your production company if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine.
In the description.
Yeah, that's fine.
And as well, can we link your Facebook page?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
And we got some upcoming shows too. So this Thursday, we'll be back at Unplugged doing the open mic night.
Okay. This is going to actually, we're going to save this until Friday and kind of give Ashley a little bit of time to, because who knows what's that?
Is it every Thursday?
It's the first three Thursdays of the month. Yeah.
And that's every month?
Every month, yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, come on down to Unplugged in St. Joe and show your support for Dan here. And also, he's got a couple. Adam and Brady. You got a couple opening guys that. See, Adam, he is a younger guy. Yeah. And he's just starting out doing the open mics and stuff like that. And you guys got some upcoming gigs together. All three of you guys are working together.
Adam Brown, Brady Willis. Yep.
Absolutely. And you're starting to get things going. Yep. You were telling me last week that you got a couple big gigs coming up. Yep. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, sure. We've got another local show that we're doing that might turn into something more frequent on Friday nights.
Okay.
It might turn into some more open mic nights. But we're doing a show the 23rd down at the Den here in town. Yeah. Downtown St. Joseph, Missouri. We're doing that. And then Saturday, so it's gonna be a big week this week. We're gonna have 3 back-to-back performances.
That's awesome.
Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday we go up to Maryville to the pub. Yeah. And where we open up myself, Brady Willis, Adam Brown. We're all 3 openers for a guy named Chris Covey.
Chris Covey, isn't he the YouTube guy?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's YouTube or not, but he's worked with a few bigger
media type,
bigger name comedians, more well-known comedians. I believe he's worked with like Larry the Cable Guy. And
no kidding.
David Spade, I think he's worked with him.
Really? And I like David Spade. He's got his own podcast.
Nice. And So I'm excited to do that. I always get excited to work with people that have been doing it because I'm one of those people. I'm a people watcher. So
Absolutely.
and I think it's probably the background. It's not profiling, but being in law enforcement, but just watching people and stuff. But I like to learn from some people that have been doing it and then seeing some success in it.
Right.
I just started doing this stuff. The comedy side of things, which, going back to that first question you asked, like what made me really get into it.
Yeah.
Well, what made me kick myself into gear this last year and push this comedy stuff was that theater teacher I told you about, right?
Yeah.
Name was Mrs. Rocky.
Mrs. Rocky. Okay.
She passed away. And the last conversation I had with that woman was, I was actually doing security and I ran into her. It was out here at the East Hills Mall. And I ran into her and we just were talking and she said, I thought you'd be in Hollywood by now. And that was years ago. And I hadn't really talked to her too much until I found out she passed. And she was a big rock in my life when it came to that stuff and entertainment, and one of my biggest believers, outside of family and friends. She always believed in me, so I kind of pushed that in.
Did you have like a moment where you were thinking, man, that lady had a lot of belief in me?
Yeah, more than myself. I mean,
and did that push you to have more belief in yourself?
Yeah. It pushed it in high gear. And Brady said, when I was up on stage, he said, "Your hustle, man." He's like, I love your hustle. It's just out there.
Absolutely.
And it's not just for me. You know what I mean? This is something I got to prove that, she was right.
Absolutely. So, and I'd love, you were hosting the open mic night, so you weren't really putting on a show, but you were funny. I loved interacting with you and the way you interacted with the crowd and everything. It was great. And I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to be there. You're going to get there. It might take a little while because this, I mean, you know where we're at, St. Joseph, Missouri. This is a hole, man. And you got to scratch and climb and claw your way out. And it's like, I don't want to compare it to like St. Louis or Kansas City or anything, because we are way smaller than those places. But it's because we're smaller than those places. A lot of talent gets trapped here. And to avoid some of that stuff, we've got YouTube now. We've got podcasts and stuff like that. And I'd love for you to, like you were talking about making your own channel, and you got, does Sleep Cockin has his own YouTube?
Yeah, it has his own channel on YouTube, yeah.
So let's link also his YouTube channel in the description. And eventually, hey, you got those videos of you being up on stage.
Yeah,
and
I haven't posted every one of them yet. I've got a post from last couple of shows that I haven't put up yet.
Right.
I do have my TikTok, which it's also called Sleep Cockin.
And you're on TikTok as well?
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and link his TikTok. Give all his socials a link in there.
It was like the cops are going to beat on my door now.
Oh, no. We don't do anything illegal here. I think the worst thing I've done recently is I was speeding down the road and ran a red light. Probably, so
it happens.
No reason for cops to come banging on the door.
I saw a bunch of bikers doing that today on my way here.
So, yeah.
It's nice outside, so everybody's out flying around on their crotch rockets.
Oh yeah, and it's nothing to see. The traffic, the traffic crime in this city has gotten a lot worse over the last 5-6 years. I don't know what a lot of people aren't even licensed in their vehicles anymore. It's kind of crazy. We were just talking about that not too long ago.
Yeah.
But back to the comedy thing and wanting to get in there. So you had that kind of come to Jesus moment with yourself where you said, all right, it's time, Dan, you need to get in here and do this. Yeah. And bro, I tell you what, that's following your dreams. That's pursuing your happiness. You knew that, hey, I'm not really happy doing all this stuff. There's something missing. Yeah. And so you wanted to honor your teacher by going after it and chasing that dream. Yeah. And I don't know you all that well, Dan, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of everything that you've done so far to get yourself to this point. And I'm also proud of that hustle, because I'm trying to make that hustle myself. And I feel like in the last few years, we've kind of brought that hustle to this point. And we haven't always been like that. We used to be the kind of people where we just go to work and just slog it out just to bring home that paycheck and not do anything other than just pay our bills. We didn't really chase our dreams and everything.
Just caught in that cogwheel, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. And so when Ashley here, I got fired from a job in 2014 or 2013. And so Ashley decided she wanted to go chase her dreams and go back to school. And it took a while because she had to work full time as well as go to school full time. And she's like, I have to do this. I have to do it for me. I have to do it for my family. And she went and got it done. And I'm really proud of her. And then when I started this whole thing, I didn't know where to begin, first of all. And I didn't know why I wanted to do it per se, other than, hey, these guys are doing it. I think I could be good at it. But then the longer I thought on it, I always wanted to be like in broadcast journalism when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about those dreams that everybody has.
Yeah.
And I don't think that being a broadcast journalist was like a first dream. I think law enforcement was a dream for me at first.
Yeah.
And so I got a domestic violence conviction in 2006.
Yeah.
And so that kind of ruined all my chances of being in law enforcement, because domestic violence, you forfeit your right to have a firearm.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be a cop because I couldn't operate a firearm.
Yeah.
I could be like a traffic cop or something to carry around a baton or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that kind of limited me as I got older.
Yeah.
But I remember watching Siskel and Ebert when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they did movie reviews, and they were both old when I was a kid, but I still watched them religiously. Every time that Siskel and Ebert was on once a week doing all the movie reviews, and for some silly ass reason, I valued their opinion. And so I wanted to get into broadcast journalism. And I, as I was thinking about podcasting, I remembered all these things, and they kept coming up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go after it. And there's been so many times where I've wanted to quit and just throw in the towel. As a matter of fact, I was talking about it. Was it this morning or last night? It was this morning. I was like, man, I don't know why I keep going. I don't know. I'm frustrated. And Ashley's like, I don't know what the hell your problem is. Everything's doing great. And my brother said the same thing yesterday.
Yeah.
He's like, everything's going great. I don't know what the hell you're freaking out about.
Yeah.
And it's
You
just
got
like,
a great setup here. For real.
thank you.
It's cool. I
Thank
like
you.
it.
It's so this all, my brother built this for me.
It's pretty cool.
And we talked about that in the last podcast. And I think I'm going to release his after yours. So everybody will have a chance to hear this first.
Oh yeah, cool.
But
Appreciate that.
we talked about him building my set, things being made in America, how I'm tired of buying junk.
Yeah.
I could have bought all this stuff from a store and paid $5,000.
Yeah.
But for $300, he built this entire set. And the TV was a couple $100, and so the table was less than the TV.
Yeah.
None of this stuff was very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But it was just the hurry up and wait aspect, because I'm a family guy and I couldn't throw like all of this all in together. We're probably 10 grand into it.
Yeah.
And I
understand
couldn't.
that. Microphones and stuff are pretty expensive too.
Yeah, well, these ones actually weren't too bad. They're only $100 a piece.
That's not too bad.
But they're lower quality, and the actual lower quality works better for me now because they don't pick up the low ground noise, and
nice.
they filter out a lot of the noise. And so none of it's really expensive, but all in with logos and lawyer fees, LLC fees, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
We're about $10,000 in. And getting all that stuff together as a family man, we don't have any money coming in. It's difficult.
Oh
so
yeah, definitely. I understand that. Totally.
I had to piece it all together, and I bought the mics in 2022.
Oh, nice.
And we just started in December 23.
Oh, there you
so
go.
it took me a while to build it all up and everything, but I'm going after it. And every day that I feel like quitting, it's just, I think back to those that believe in me.
You got to find that drive somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And my wife believes in me. My brother believes in me. I've got a couple fans that watch the show religiously. They believe in me. And so I'm going to keep putting in this product, keep putting in this work,
yeah.
and see where it takes me. I'm gonna follow that dream, and that's essentially what you're doing with your comedy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And law enforcement was just a small part of your life, and you'll find that the longer that you go, you'll be doing this longer than you were in that. You know, so
I've almost been doing this longer than that.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's,
I know a lot of comedians. I don't know a lot of comedians, but I heard a lot of comedian stories where they're just now taking off in like their 40s.
Yeah.
And, you know, when asked, they're like, how long have you been doing comedy? Well, I've been doing comedy for like 15 years, you know, I just took off. And I think with the way digital things are nowadays, I don't think it takes near as long these days.
well, you got to think like some of these guys that were doing it, you know, like take Matt Rife, who's blown up recently.
Yeah.
Like, he's blown up recently, but he was on Wild 'N Out for I don't know how long at age like 19.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
And then as soon as everything happened with COVID and all this other stuff, and everybody started going to the digital stuff,
Yeah.
TikTok was a big deal.
Absolutely.
You know, that's where he started blowing up. You know, but he was, I mean, I think he had a good 7 to 10 years that he was trying to work on, you know, getting himself to that status, and now he's just blown up.
Absolutely.
Shane Gillis, you know, absolutely love his comedy.
I do too.
He's hilarious. Saturday Night Live fired him, you know.
Yeah,
And look at him. He's probably gonna end up hosting that show sometime.
Right,
So,
right. Now, he's got this joke that really resonates with me because I'm in my mid to late 30s. Actually, late 30s. I'm 38. I am 38, right? I'll be 39 this year. So I'm 38, and so what he said was.
Did you have to ask her how old you are?
Yeah.
That's funny. That was yeah. That's funny.
Well, we've been married since 2014, but we've been together since '06. So we've been together for a long time. And so sometimes I forget how old I am.
Yeah.
I was 21 when we got together.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. But anyway, where was I?
Talking about Shane Gillis.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Shane Gillis's joke.
Yeah.
So I'm in my late 30s, and what he said really resonated with me because he said he's caught the early onset Republican.
Yeah.
And I saw that joke,
feel
and
that.
I was like, man, I have been watching a lot of World War II documentaries, you know, and paying attention to geopolitics and shit. And it's the crazy thing about that whole deal is it's happening again.
Yeah.
I think I've told my wife numerous times, I think World War III started. I think our history books will tell us World War III started in 2023. I believe that because the precursor to World War I and World War II are exactly the same as what they are right now.
Pretty wild stuff.
Destabilizing global tensions in the Middle East, destabilizing global tensions in Europe.
Yep.
Right now, there's the biggest war that has ever been on European soil since World War II. And it's Russia and Ukraine. A little bit of Ukraine, the size of I don't know. We could compare it to the size of Missouri. A little bit of Ukraine, and big ass Russia is having trouble with them.
Somebody's getting some money over there, though. I'll tell you.
Yeah, somebody is. It ain't us.
Yeah.
My brother and I were just talking about that because Made in America infrastructure is a big part of that, and that's what he does. Is he locates utilities.
Yeah.
And I was in underground utility construction for a long time. I worked for MCON in Wathena.
Yeah. Yeah, Tyler and those guys. Those guys are cool. So.
Yeah, they are a good group of guys. But I tell you what, man, for as laid back as that guy is, I mean, if you ever see him on the street or whatever, he's got the biggest smile on his face. I've seen him madder than a hornet. I've pissed that guy off so bad he couldn't see straight. I'm guarantee it. And I've seen him. I threw a snake at him one time. Yeah. It was funny. Yeah. I've never seen him run so fast in my life.
I bet.
But so yeah, we know a lot of the same people. As a matter of fact, like you grew up in Troy, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but your age group is more like my age group as well. So a lot of my family members you probably know, and we might get off. We might get into that off air.
I didn't come on the show for that.
I ain't not been breathing hard yet.
It's a different show.
So anyway, back to the following the dreams and wanting to be a comedian and everything. And how long have you been doing the comedian thing?
It's kind of funny. We're talking about social media being a big factor.
Yeah.
I literally started this up. I think my first show was last May.
Yeah.
And I made a Facebook post. I said, I'm looking.
And you're already to where you are, not even a year, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I made a Facebook post saying I wanted to put together a show and advertised it. And next thing I know, Rendezvous and Keith Dudley.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
he's ex-law enforcement himself.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was St. Joe PD for, I think, 19, 20 years.
Wow. Wow.
Good dude. Absolutely love Keith. He's a good friend, which I miss they're moving locations now. They just moved from their Felix Street location.
Is he retired, no longer an officer?
Yeah, he's no longer in the law enforcement. He's just running the bar and stuff, and they do realty, him and his wife and stuff. They're good people. Good down to earth people.
I might want to have him on the podcast, talk about some of the
might.
crazy shit that happens in this town.
Keith would probably be a lot better with the stories than I would.
Because he was a police officer here. I mean, it's gotten a lot worse in the last few years, but it's still the same old town I grew up
Keith
in.
would definitely have a lot more. I've got some like Reno 911 stories type stuff just from where I was from.
Absolutely.
But
I wanted to get into the little bit of that too, because you started to tell me about your first bust, and I was like, hold on, wait for the show. And so we were talking about, I wanted to talk to police officers. Everybody wants to talk about the big busts.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about, hey, did you shoot anybody? Did you ever discharge your service? I don't care about all that. Those are stories that not even you guys care about.
I only drew my gun once, and I knew the guy. So.
And where you were, you probably knew a lot of people that you had to deal with on a daily basis.
I mean, the county of Donovan was 8,500, I think, total.
Wow.
So
I didn't realize it was that small.
Yeah, it's less than 10,000, I think, is what it is. But everybody knows everybody.
Right.
At some point in time, you might get a stranger, but a lot of times you're rolling through there. Everybody's gonna know who you are. You're gonna know who they are. My first bust, I didn't know who the person was. It was kind of weird, but she was batshit crazy. And what made it a great
if she's
story.
batshit crazy and from over there, I guarantee I know her.
No, I don't think she was originally from there. But she had basically pushed her elderly mother out of a vehicle and took off in her vehicle, and blew the engine in the vehicle and parked it basically in a farmer's field, and ran up the back of this farmer's flatbed truck and stood on the roof and was screaming I don't know what she was screaming. He was like, what the hell's going on here? Because he's the one that called and said, hey, there's this crazy lady out here.
Right. And then and up until just a couple of years ago, you didn't see that over there.
No. And we thought maybe it was drugs involved or whatever, but apparently not. But anyways, she runs out, and it's full field. It's all grown, corn and all that. It's grown up, so you can't see it once they're in the field.
Right.
And she took off into the field as we're pulling up, and then we're like, the guy that I'm with, my partner at the time that we kind of rode together, because I was still kind of in training,
right.
Which training over there was here's the keys, don't get in trouble. But
I could see it.
She
they don't pay us enough to train you.
Oh man, I think whenever I left, I was paid less than $14 an hour once a month.
Yeah, they make a little bit more than that now, but it's not much.
I think it went to 16 or something. Yeah. But and this economy is not good. But
and they're still assholes. Like like I run into so many Donovan County pricks that think they're better than me, and I'm like, bro, like, do you not understand? Like, I don't even have to work to earn the amount of money that you're making right now. I could sit on my ass on my couch and earn your paycheck, and you're going to treat me like you're better than me? No.
It's a thing with some people need a badge to feel relevant.
You know what I mean? I don't run into that very often.
I never thought that, oh, I got a badge, it just makes me who, I mean, I was a man without it. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
That's the way I always looked at it. It's like, I'm the same guy with or without the badge.
Yeah.
I have a job to do, but at the same time, like, I didn't want to harass people or feel like I'm harassing people, because some of them, that's what they do. But on the story, though, it's very comical, because she ran into the field, right? And he drops me off, so I'm down at this section waiting to see if maybe she comes out at this other end, because if she goes, she can't cross the field. This is quite a bit of land, right?
Right.
So I'm waiting down at this end. He goes up to the top, and she comes out of the field to him. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like a off signs or something. I don't know. But anyways, when she comes
Children in the corn.
yeah,
type
children
of
in the
shit.
corn. Yeah, it's like, and she comes out of the cornfield, but she came out butt naked, like no clothes on at
Wow.
all. And no, it was not a sight you want
Not
to
a
see.
say. Okay.
Not a sight you want to see. I still have PTSD from it. And so, and I still can't. And it was crazy. But she comes out and she goes to him. She goes, "You can't arrest me. I'm naked." And like, that's not exactly how it works, because I think everybody would try that.
Right.
But anyway, so she's, wild and crazy. He handcuffs her, puts her in the back seat. We throw a blanket over her, obviously, so we're trying to keep her covered.
covered.
We don't know where her clothes are. She threw them out in the field somewhere when she took them off.
And not only that, but like a safety issue.
For a safety issue. Well, I still had to ride on one side of the truck because it was like a SUV type thing.
Right.
So I had to ride in the back, right on one side, and she's on the other. Well, my asshole friend who's driving is fucking taking corners and trying to make her slide into me and stuff. I'm like, dude, this is disgusting. Like, just the craziest shit. And anyways, we get there, but you like to drink coffee. Obviously,
Yep.
your stuff is
Yeah,
that.
today I'm not drinking coffee because
saw
it's
that.
like 4:00 in the afternoon. So.
That's why I didn't want anything. But again, like I told you, I chugged an energy drink before I got here because I was zoned out with that new migraine medicine I'm on.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, long story short, I started thinking, I was like, every time I see this picture of this girl, and you ever watch the Men in Black movies?
Yeah.
You know those bugs that are drinking coffee?
Absolutely.
That's what she looked like.
That's funny.
It was like the worst.
Now
like,
I've got the picture in my
so that's
head.
what I'm saying. So you see it's somebody with that type of body build, like a
Right.
bug off of Men in Black. I can't even watch the movie no more. Because it's PTSD for me. But
You
that was
ruined it.
It was my first ever bust, and she couldn't stand trial because she was crazy.
Well, I mean, and I guess that was a win for everybody. You got a great story out of it, and she didn't go to jail.
Well, and here's the thing. Later, I still had to transfer her to go get her psych evaluation.
So you did run into her again. And
Yeah, I mean she was clothed this time, but it was a pretty wild
that's the
time.
kind of stuff that I'm interested in talking to cops about. Not the stuff that they, not the big busts or what made their career or whatever. Like, first of all, how'd you get into law enforcement? Those type of things. And also, what do you and your cop friends talk about when nobody else is around? Like, what are the things that police find funny? Like, for instance, like my best friend, one of my best friends is my sister's husband. He's a former police officer. He tells me the story about, and we were talking about how I wanted to talk about stories that police officers enjoy. And he's like, well, hell, I got a bunch of those stories. He's like, this one time he's telling me about, he was telling me, and we'll get into this when I have him on the show, but he was telling me about how there was one time he just shit his pants. He went out on a call and he shit his pants. That is the stuff that police officers find funny, especially ones that've been on the job for a long time. They don't remember the bus. They don't remember the people they come across. What they do remember is their brothers and sisters.
Oh, yeah.
And so those are some of the stories I wanted to get into. And that's a funny one for a first day out on the job, first arrest.
Yeah, it was my first time being on real patrol like that. And then, I had another one too where we had to run a drunk driver off the road.
No kidding.
We had to run him off the road because he was actually swerving in and out of traffic. We had to chase him down and he fell asleep at the wheel.
Wow.
But that one was a little bit more serious because I literally had to get over into oncoming traffic,
Right.
so he couldn't hit oncoming traffic, and I had my lights and stuff going and trying to get people off the road.
Oh, was this on that U.S. highway over there?
Yeah, 36 highway.
Yeah. So the highway that he's talking about is a major
Headed west,
U.S. highway, all that runs this whole length of Kansas into Colorado.
I think it's the longest stretch of highway, one of the longest stretch of highways in the country.
Yeah, really.
Because
That's
I think it goes all the
impressive.
way to Colorado line, I believe.
Yeah,
So, close to
it does. Yeah.
So
That's pretty neat. But yeah, so it's a U.S. highway that you were on, and I know a lot of spaces is only 2-lane in between where you were and here is a lot of 2-lane.
Yeah.
And so you were weaving in and out of traffic to try to get this guy to not hurt or kill someone else.
yeah.
And that's got to be pretty scary and nerve-wracking.
The adrenaline you get off of that type of that type of driving is just bar none. I would probably relate it to any other high that you would probably get. Like, like an upper.
Oh yeah.
I've never really done drugs. Myself. I've never been a big drug user.
Right.
It's never been my thing. I don't even really like to take a pill for, like I said, they put me on these migraine medications.
I know a lot of people
that.
like that. My old lady's like that.
I just don't really like to take it. If I don't have to take it, I don't take it.
Right.
But
whereas I take them sometimes regular, not Tylenol, but sometimes I take pills recreationally, Like, so one thing I do is like, I do this like with my pain medication. Yeah. You go to the dentist to have a teeth pulled. They'll give you like 5, 6, painkillers or whatever. I don't take those when my tooth is hurting, because in my experience, painkillers just make my tooth pain worse.
Yeah.
So I save them for when I'm not in pain.
Yeah.
And I take them recreationally, but it's not, just take one here and there and just feel loopy for a little bit and then be done with it. But it's not, I don't have a huge pill problem or anything like that.
I'm a jack of all trades. So, like I wasn't just law enforcement. I've sold cars. I've done everything, and, the funny thing is you talk about that. And, I actually, with my lower back, having that fusion that we talked about in the beginning of this.
Yeah.
I was in pain, walking on the concrete. And back then, you couldn't wear like tennis shoes and stuff to sell cars. You had to wear like tie and dress shirt and dress shoes.
Dress shoes that were really
you're out there in wingtips and stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't wingtips, but they were dress shoes, and it hurts your back a lot. You're out there. And one time I took a lower tab, and I was at work. I just had to have one for the pain.
Yeah, the back getting to you so bad that like I know the feeling. I got a bad back myself. So.
And you don't actually. It's kind of crazy because for me it takes a lot. Like I don't know what it is. Like Benadryl, Tylenol PM, none of that stuff really knocks me out. Lower tabs didn't knock me out. Like a lot of people, they'll put them to sleep, right?
Right.
Didn't put me to sleep, but it made me like really really fluent.
Right.
I don't know what was going on, but that day I knocked out like 4.5 car deals. Like,
that's awesome.
Like I was getting close to setting a record.
That's awesome.
So because I just went through and I would be like walking one way, I bring somebody back, sell them a car, go back this way, go back, sell somebody a car. And my boss even came up, he's like, hey, what are you doing, man? I was like, I don't know. Selling cars.
Yeah.
So I'm grabbing people off the street.
I'm getting shit done. Leave me alone. Like you want to sell some cars, or do you want to just stand here and bother me all day?
Oh, they were happy with me. They were very happy with me. I made that dealership a lot of money that day. So
that's awesome.
But
that's turning a negative into a positive right there. Your back was hurting like hell, so you popped a pill and sold 5 cars.
Yeah, I didn't get the 5-car deals because I had to split a deal because I was too busy working on two deals at a time.
Yeah, 2 deals going on at once.
So I had to split a deal with somebody else. But technically it would have been 5
you hate to have
deals.
those customers sitting while you're trying to work out this other deal, and then especially if they see you doing it. That's kind of rough. And we had that issue like when we were buying a car back in 2012. The guy that we were buying from was a dumbass. Yeah. I mean, he didn't know anything about cars. And I kind of knew what I wanted when I went in there. I told my wife, I said, pick out what you want, we'll get it.
Yeah.
And she picked out a car that I didn't like, but it was her car. So, and then it turned out I actually loved the car later on.
Yeah.
But we picked it out. He sold it to us. And as he's selling it to us, because he's such an idiot, he's having to go to his boss and have the boss do everything, bring it back. So he's just basically a go-between. And I was like, why don't you go get that guy and just bring him to me and we'll deal with him directly.
I absolutely loved that was the funnest thing about car sales is like they always had challenges for us.
Yeah.
And I was like always one of those guys that like win the challenges.
Yeah.
Like you said,
I mean, that just generally breaks up the monotony of work anyway. But like if you make it fun, it takes, you go into work not dreading your job. You're like, today I'm going to sell some cars.
Well, it was funny. I used to wear this stocking cap all the time, kind of like I have my signature hat.
Yep.
The Boston Scallies.
Yeah, I showed out. I texted him yesterday and I was told him about the cap company, and he's like, "Hey man, that's where I get my caps."
Yeah, that's where I get it at. I'm gonna be ordering more. I'm hoping they give me some type of sponsorship in the future.
I saw one with the bottom of the bill was instead of black, it was red.
Yeah,
and it was the Rocky Marciano. I thought that was
that's
really
my next
neat.
one. This one was it's like the scrapper one.
Yeah.
So that one I wanted to get it next. That's probably going to be my go-to because I like red.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think I probably look better in red.
Yeah, my favorite color is blue.
Yeah. I mean, I love blue too. I mean, my graduating high school, we were the Troy Trojans. We were blue.
Yeah. You
Or
blew.
a condom. We don't know, but so we did all that. But you know, going back to the car sales, I got stories for that too. You know, those challenges. I didn't find out till later. I'd started with a group of guys, right? And we've been there for about a good 3 months. And I guess there was a deal that if you got somebody to lick a window on a car deal, then the manager would buy you lunch.
Right.
Well, I didn't know about this at the beginning. No one told me this.
Right.
I don't know if I just didn't listen or whatever, because I'd sold cars before and I just
Right.
kind of got in there, did my own thing. But I sold cars on honesty. You know, we talk about being the honest part with kids and everything else. I never told anybody stuff in car sales like, oh, this car is this or that, when it wasn't. Sometimes I get in the car, I didn't know about it. I'm like, we're going to learn this car together.
Absolutely.
You know?
And that is sales, man. That's how you get them on your side. I would have been your best customer. I'd have been like, I like this guy. Give him all the commission.
So what I did one time is that someone came in to buy a vehicle and I found out about this and I'm like, bet, you know, I use the kid term, bet.
Yeah.
So, which is weird.
Well, I know
we'll
what
get
you
into
mean.
that here in a little
Yeah.
bit. We'll get into that here in a little bit because some of that stuff's so stupid. But I was like, all right, cool. So this person showed up and I pulled up a car and stuff. We took it for a test drive and, you know, there's always that question of, what would it take for you to buy this car today or drive this home today? You know,
Right.
you like this car, you start taking that ownership, you start giving everybody the ownership on the sales side, because that's what they teach you how to sell.
Right.
Is you start saying, you're going to drive this home today. You're going to get them on yes questions. You're going to get them doing this and this and this, because when someone gets in the habit of saying yes, they're going to say yes to the deal, right?
Right.
So I was just honest with them. I just straight up told them, I was like, you know, what would you show your loyalty to me in buying this car today? I said, my boss said that if you lick the window, he'll buy me lunch. I said, you want to see me eat today, right? They licked the window.
That's great.
So, I mean, it was just straight up like that. I guess everybody would have been trying.
I'm that guy, aren't I?
So, anyways, they didn't even buy that car. But they bought a car. They actually switched them from like a Suzuki to like an Escape or something. But
that's what we bought in 2012. We will have that Escape.
Yeah, they bought she licked the window. The girl did at the time. She licked the window on a Suzuki car. It was like all-wheel drive. So ended up leaving it in an Escape. Still got a deal out of it, and I got lunch. So,
hell yeah.
But I always love those challenges because it made the day funner. Because in car sales, you're there, you almost live there. You
Right.
know? Yeah, as much as you work as a law enforcement officer, car sales, you could be there on your day off because someone couldn't make it the other day, so you had to make a schedule to come in and do it. You know, say you're off on a Wednesday, that's the only time they can make it. Guess what? You're going in to make a deal happen because
Right.
you have goals to meet. You have to do that because obviously you're not there to just make your salary, because a lot of car dealerships,
it's a crap salary.
Yeah.
You work on commission.
and a lot of the time it's less than your salary is usually less than 40 grand a year.
And which, if you're a decent car salesman, you can make bank as a car
Oh, yeah.
salesman. So especially at these new dealerships where they have the big mega dealerships where they have 25 trucks sitting out front, you know,
Oh, yeah.
different colors of the same thing. Those type of places that have the money to have the inventory.
Oh, yeah.
You make a lot of money there if you're good at it.
I used to just listen to certain songs like from Lonely Island Boys and stuff like that and
Yeah.
get myself put myself in a good mood.
I was actually thinking about you the other day. I wanted to send you, I didn't know if he's like, oh man, he's probably going to think I'm gay or something, but it was Shine Down, Stay to My Head.
Oh yeah.
And
I like Shine Down.
I heard that song and I'm like, man, this is getting me fucking pumped up, you know?
I love
and
Shine
I was
Down.
like, hey, let's give Dan a little bit of motivation and send this to him. Then I was like, no, he'll think I'm gay.
No, it's all good. I listen to Shine Down. I listen to Seether. I'm a big rock fan too.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the band Pop Evil. They're one of my favorites.
I like Pop Evil. They did a song. I can't remember the name of it. It made me think of my mom. What was the name of that song? Torn to Pieces.
Yeah,
That's it.
I just heard that the other day. It's actually on my YouTube playlist. So a lot of that is Torn to Pieces, Footsteps. Footsteps is pretty motivational. That's one of my favorites that they got, which is, you know, all my no's turn into yes.
Right.
that's the negative to a positive. You know what I mean? So
I've got a pretty good story on turning no's into yes. I used to be a big old fat guy.
There you go.
I was 500 pounds, well, 520 at my heaviest. Dang. And we recently had weight loss surgery. I was so freaking big that I couldn't get up and move around. And so I just felt like I was sitting around waiting to die.
Wow.
And so we went and had weight loss surgery. I've lost 300 pounds, man.
That's good.
And
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But
it isn't, man. It's a dedication.
The surgery gave me the initial push that I needed because I was almost dead, man.
Yeah.
I was yellow, real jaundiced and everything. And so it made me really think about pushing and motivating and turning no's into yes.
Yeah.
And my sister called me up.
That's why you're on this podcast, right?
That's right. Turning a no into a yes.
There you go.
My sister called me up and just out of the blue, hey, what are you doing next month? Or was it like 2 weeks from now? What are you doing 2 weeks from now? I thought, fuck, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. Why? And she's like, I got to go to Maine to deliver a dog. And before she could get the word dog out of her mouth, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to Maine.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything going on, you know, and she works a full-time job, so I didn't even ask her.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, well, I've never been to Maine. I guess I'm going to Maine because it was at the height of the COVID restrictions where everything was still closed down, but they were getting ready to open up. But I'd been shut into this house for like a year with the kids, didn't have any time off or anything. And so I wouldn't ordinarily do things like that. I wouldn't ordinarily say yes to going anywhere during the playoffs because my Chiefs play.
Yeah.
And I don't ever miss a game.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that they were thinking a reason why I would say no. And then another reason was because I'd have to fly to them.
Yeah.
And I'd never flown before. And I'm
Love
always
flying.
broke and this, that, and the other thing. And so I said, yeah, I'm in. And that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And from that experience, saying yes when I want to say no, it turned a negative and put it into a positive. I was having a horrible time. And then when I got back, my family missed me. Everybody was nice to me again. You know, my kids didn't terrorize me. It was friggin' great.
Yeah.
And so I do that a lot more often. And the first Thursday I came down to see you,
Yeah.
I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I was dog ass tired.
Yeah.
It didn't have anything to do with actually working.
Yeah.
I'm just burnout. I don't really, the weather, you know, all kinds of crappy stuff is going on in life nowadays. I just didn't really feel like going. But I was like, man, I gotta go because number one, I already told my buddy I'd go. And number two, this can mean a lot for the business. This can mean a lot for the podcast. So I'm going to go. And when I got down there, I immediately felt better. I was with you and Adam and all the guys. I thought I was around friends.
Yeah.
You all made me feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, I come home, my wife was already in bed. And so I kind of hung out with myself for an hour or so to kind of wind down. I got to thinking, man, I'm really glad I went, you know? And
We're glad you can. So.
the following Thursday when I brought my wife down, I did want to go.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
And it
We
was a
had
great
fun.
time.
So.
And so now we're here today and we're talking about how many people we can get going down there Thursday to go see you guys again. And now you're doing that every month, the first 3 Thursdays of every month.
And then the last Thursday's at the Rendezvous.
Okay. So the last Thursday of every month at the Rendezvous
So we
in
do
St.
4
Joe.
Thursdays a month, 3 at Unplugged, the
Okay.
first 3, and then we do Rendezvous the last Thursday.
Okay, and I'm going to need, especially the people that watch every week, I'm going to need you guys to come down here and support Dan because I'm going to go. I'm not sure if I'll make it down this Thursday or not. I think I will,
Right.
because I'm going to try to bring some more people down.
Perfect.
But I'm also going to try to make it down to the Rendezvous because I don't even think I've ever been to the Rendezvous.
Well, they moved locations. I'll have to get the new address.
Okay.
They moved around the corner somewhere. I can't exactly remember the actual address of it.
Right.
But I'll get it. Because like I said, I'm friends with Keith. He's good people. Him and his
Okay.
wife are amazing people.
And then, of course, we'll link all
Of course,
that
Keith
on the
gave me my
socials
start
and
there,
stuff.
so he was the first show ever. which, I want to touch base on that if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
The Rendezvous, I always call it home.
Yeah.
Because of that. I wanted to go last night, but again, I got off work, my full-time job. Again, I don't want to bring that up either because I don't want them to be like, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that.
Right.
But I was going to go down there last night. They had a free show with band and stuff like that for their last night at that location that they're at, which it's going to have some, yeah.
Dave's band played there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Monday's Child played there. Yeah. They're a good band. Yeah.
Yeah. So the bass player is Ashley's cousin.
Oh, nice. I wish I would have went. I was just so out of it. I got off work, and migraine was kicking in. So I went home and I took my medicine and I just kind of went to sleep. So I feel bad I didn't make it to their last night there since like I said, I started my shows there. I'm the one that started doing everything, recruiting all the comedians and things. Brady kind of came on board. Him and Adam both came on board at Unplugged.
Right.
But I've made some good friends in those guys too. So now we're kind of like a trio group going around, and we're looking to add.
And you guys feed off of each other really well.
Yeah. It's just kind of I think it just came naturally. Brady being ex-military and stuff like that. So him and I kind of have that.
So you are ex-law enforcement. Brady's ex-military, and Adam's a criminal.
And Adam's a stoner.
Yeah, not really stoner, but that kid he's great, man.
He's amazing.
He's got a really sunny disposition, and he's got some dark jokes for having all them big smiles, you know. So I thought that guy was hilarious. Brady's funny as, especially that the first night that I came to see you guys, his grandma was in the audience, and his grandma was filming, which
Grandma Mary,
she was a good sport about the whole thing, and I was like, man, he's got dick jokes for days, and his grandma's sitting right there. She's just laughing and clapping. I was like, that's awesome.
His grandma's like having Betty White as a grandma. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Crazy. Like, I saw her in the crowd, and I was like, and I started hearing all these jokes he was saying. I'm like, man, he's saying all that in front of his grandma. Like, that's cool, but we're gonna run with it.
Yeah.
So
and our mutual friend that came up on stage, we were mentioning, Brady was telling us that he got ribbed by his grandma. I know that joke.
Yeah.
And so if I was a comedian, that is more likely what I would probably do. I'd have to start with my show with something like, guys, I stole all these jokes. I don't know where they came from. They're not mine. They're not original, but I'm just repeating them to you because I thought they were funny.
This is going to be a Cat Williams and Shay Shay contest.
No, that whole freaking deal. Wow. So, Monique was on there last week, and
she confirmed it too.
Yeah, she did. She confirmed a lot of stuff. I found some of her stuff to be a little petty. Yeah. Because one of the shows that she was talking about was D.L. Hughley's show, and he came out and said what she's talking about is one of the things that we did with every guest. We didn't single Monique out. She asked for it to be removed, and we did that, but I am not apologizing.
Yeah.
And since I get it, and they still have a great relationship. So she didn't say anything about, she's like, I still got love for DL, you know, so it wasn't anything like,
Cat didn't even say anything about DL. He was talking about
Steve. He said DL was like one of the best.
Yeah.
So
because DL is kind of, and he's actually pretty clean too when it comes to his jokes. He's not as vulgar as a lot of the ones out there. Like you mentioned about us being, some of us can be a little bit darker,
right?
Of course, past history and some of the stuff we've seen and things of that nature. You kind of develop some dark humor,
right?
Because I wasn't just law enforcement; I did corrections and stuff too. But but over the years, I think a lot of comedians though will take some stuff from other comedians and make it their own.
Right.
Which, in for instance, that joke that Cat's talking about, the theft joke where he's talking about he's driving the car and stuff like that, and Cedric doing that joke too. I remember seeing both of those jokes, and I believe Cat was the first one to do it. I don't think I love Cat. I don't think I'm against him on this at all by any means. But at the same time, is that every joke is going to have somebody filter it out somewhere along the lines and use it. I try to be original and mix it up on everything. Like,
what I didn't like about that whole thing was he's coming out against his own.
Yeah.
Whether they're part of the problem or not. I think Dave Chappelle said something about, he came out and said something about other comedians and
Yeah.
other people of color. And that was just wrong for him to do. And I don't think it was maybe wrong because Cat Williams was telling his truth.
Yeah.
But I think that he could have gone more in depth
Yeah.
about it's not the comedians, it's the ones who are pulling the strings that he needs
Exactly.
to tell the truth about. The Harvey Weinsteins, the big production people that,
Oh, yeah.
and like he was talking about Kevin Hart, and I turned down $50 million 3 times. Cat Williams wasn't talking about actually turning down $50 million. What he was talking about is not sucking a dick.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
exactly what he was talking about. And he's like, that's why I didn't get that part, because I refused to do that stuff.
Exactly.
And I know they asked me, so what'd you do?
Yeah.
You know? And so I think he should tell more of that.
Yeah, not
and
be so
less
vague
of-
on how he's saying it. Yeah.
Right. And less about his brothers and sisters in comedy or in show business. Let's not call them out for playing the game. That's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
If they want to make it anywhere, maybe they gotta play the game a little bit. And Cat Williams is doing just fine
Oh
financially.
yeah. And he pays, and that's the thing too. I put that on my Facebook post. I would love to tour with Cat and be on his tour and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm going. You talk about going places for the first time. The first time I'm ever going to be in Tampa or Orlando, Florida, is going to be in August,
Really?
and it's to do a show.
Yeah.
Like I've never been to either one, and that's going to be my first time there.
How long are you going to be down?
I do a show August 23rd in Tampa.
Okay.
And then we go up to Orlando the next night and do a show up there on the 24th of August. So I'll be up there. I'll probably be down there for about probably 3 or 4 days.
You flying?
I'm not sure yet because I'm gonna try to make a stop in because I got a daughter in Pensacola area, so I'm gonna try to
Okay.
see if I can maybe make my way over that way and see her because I don't get to see her as often being
Right.
that far away. So it'd be kind of a nice little surprise to visit her while I'm out that way too.
Right.
She's highly intelligent, funny as hell.
Absolutely.
I don't know where she gets it from, but
Her mama.
it's got to be her mom. Yeah, her mom's cool too. We get along pretty well too. So, but she says stuff that a normal 5-6-year-old kid should not be saying. As far as that, she told me a story the other day. Her mom did about, I don't remember what it was. It's something to do with the dog and popcorn, and she said something about coercing the dog. My child said this, and I'm like, you should be saying those words. You're like, how old are you?
She's going to grow up to be a lawyer.
Right? I hope so. It'd be great.
I
Unless,
tell you what, I've got to take a break for a moment because I got to pee. I don't know how far are we in? Can you see that?
We're an hour and 12 minutes.
So we're an hour and 12 minutes. We might split this up into 2 shows depending on how much longer it goes after I get back. But we'll take a break for right now. We'll be back and